Welcome in. We kick things off tonight with a major court ruling on social media that has important First Amendment implications. Some federal agencies are now blocked from contacting social media companies about problematic content. That's after a Louisiana judge, a Trump appointee, ruled that their actions were in violation of the First Amendment. This injunction means that a number of federal agencies, and that includes the Department of Health and Human Services and the FBI, are now prohibited from some efforts to remove or suppress social media posts. Now, this was in a lawsuit brought by the attorneys general of Louisiana and Missouri. They accuse the Biden White House of trying to influence big tech companies like Facebook and Twitter. And from the administration's perspective, this is all part of an effort to combat what they see as disinformation. A federal judge in Louisiana, though, called it, quote, an almost dystopian scenario.
Well, this is a pretty broad ruling, and it feels a lot more political than judicial. But these are private companies. They make decisions about content on their platforms.
A White House official says, quote, this administration has promoted responsible actions to protect public health, safety, and security when confronted by challenges like a deadly pandemic and foreign attacks on our elections. The administration already says it will appeal the. Now, to do a deep dive on this, let's bring in Michael Carroll, a law professor at American University. Professor, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So right off the bat here, folks have been calling this a strikingly broad injunction. They say that this is a remarkable decision from this judge out of Louisiana. What's your take?
I have to agree. This is unprecedented. Really on three grounds. One, even finding that the states have been injured in a way that gives them the right to bring the lawsuit. And then the interpretation of the First Amendment is extraordinary. And this injunction is unheard of. An entire department can't even make a phone call if what they want to do is complain about content. We've never seen something like that before.
Now, the argument here is that there is a concern and a fear that the government is censoring people and posts. But the government is saying, look, we're not censoring anyone. We're having these ongoing conversations because it's our job, especially when it comes to important topics like terrorism and public health, that the public gets the right information. So we need these open lines of communication to make sure that misinformation isn't making its way around the world before the truth even gets up and puts its shoes on in the morning. But what do you make of the argument here that this is tantamount to government censorship?
Yeah, I think it's important to distinguish between what the theory and the facts. Yeah, on the facts, it's ridiculous. Like the evidence that's being cited as censorship is, asking for content to be taken down, or Dr. Fauci appearing on TV and saying that certain claims are false. It doesn't mean that there's no way the government could cross a First Amendment line, but on this evidence, not even close.
Now, one of the issues here is the Biden administration was threatening legal action against certain social media companies if they didn't comply with certain things. We've talked about on this show before something called Section 230, which basically gives these companies broad immunity. The Supreme Court just recently dealt with the issue and decided to keep it up and keep its strength up. So Section 230 still lives. These companies enjoy broad immunity from any kind of enforcement or lawsuits. But the Biden administration here threatening that kind of legal action. What else can the Biden administration do?
Well, that's the thing. They can't unless you actually take a formal government action. Generally, the First Amendment doesn't just prohibit a government official from asking. And that's what's really confusing about this case is this is not formal government action. It's asking a private company to deal with its own policies on content on its own platform.
And what do you find to be the most persuasive way to talk to folks who perhaps have gotten caught up in some of these misinformation campaigns and do make these posts or repost some of this misinformation and think, well, this is the government putting their thumb on the scale. They're pressuring this company to take down my content, and that's violating my rights. What's the clearest way to kind of pierce through that?
Well, it's tough, but I think probably the main thing is we have to acknowledge how powerful social media is and how these big companies essentially are governments for their own platform. So if you want to complain about the government, don't complain about the U.S. government, complain about the government of Facebook and the government of YouTube, because it's their contracts that set the rules on what kinds of speech are and are not allowed. And those are the companies enforcing their own rules.
Everyone talked about this on the 4th of July because that's when the decision came down. But we've actually been talking about the government's involvement and oversight of social media companies for a while now. A couple of states like Texas and Florida have passed laws that basically forbid these companies from taking down conservative content. Now, those face their own types of First Amendment challenges. But quickly at the end here, I just wanted to get your take on states trying to weigh in here, particularly conservative states trying to prevent these companies from taking down what they deem to be conservative content.
Yeah, I mean, again, facts and evidence don't support that, but it is a perception and it is a talking point that's out there. And the case you mentioned is headed back to the Supreme Court, and because we have 2 different courts of appeals looking at the Florida and Texas laws differently. So there's clearly a move to sort of legalize what is really a political argument. And this judge accepted that in this case, but I don't think it survives. This is not the end of the story. And this is really an outlier decision that will not be the last word.
You're right. This is an attempt to legalize a political argument, something I fear we will continue to see in the courts. It's certainly a trend that we've seen, and we would love to have you back as these cases continues to make their way through the courts.
Be happy to join you. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much for joining us, Professor. All right, sticking with